Welcome to HornAfrica Insight, your source for East Africa's top developments. Today we bring you 5 major stories. Egypt deepens partnerships in the Horn of Africa. Eritrea slams Ethiopia's rhetoric on Red Sea access. Boeing faces its first civil trial over the Ethiopian Airlines crash. Puntland rejects Somalia's e-visa policy. And the UAE admits policy errors in Sudan. All the facts right now and on HornAfrica Insight. Egypt is moving to strengthen its foothold in the Horn of Africa, pursuing new alliances it says will promote security, development, and regional stability. Foreign Minister Badr Abdulati, writing in South Africa's News 24, said, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi views the Horn as Egypt's natural extension, tied to Cairo through the Red Sea and Nile Basin. He warned that any instability in the region directly threatens Egypt's own security and economy. Abdulati highlighted key initiatives over the past 2 years. Egypt's decision to join the USAM peacekeeping mission in Somalia, deploying more than 1,000 troops, marking the first Egyptian boots on Somali soil in decades. Cairo is also expanding cooperation with Djibouti, Eritrea, Kenya, and Somalia in energy, education, and infrastructure. The second Egypt-Somalia Business Forum is expected in Mogadishu, focusing on investment and trade. Cairo already supplied military equipment to Somalia in 2024, underscoring its growing regional presence. But the strategy carries geopolitical friction. Egypt continues to clash with Ethiopia over the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam and Addis Ababa's renewed push for sea access. Abdulati reaffirmed that only Red Sea bordering nations will govern its security, leaving Ethiopia firmly excluded. Can Egypt's outreach stabilize the Horn? Or will it deepen the region's divide? Eritrea has sharply rebuked Ethiopia's repeated calls for sea access, calling the campaign rhetoric overriding international law. Asmara's statement came after Ethiopian Army Chief Field Marshal Birhanu Jula questioned whether 2 million can block 200 million from the Red Sea, echoing Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's remarks that Ethiopia's loss of ports 30 years ago was a mistake that must be corrected. Eritrea's foreign ministry said population size does not justify breaching sovereignty, citing the UN Charter's principle of sovereign equality. Eritrea reminded Addis Ababa that independence was achieved through referendum and international recognition. Still, tension grows. Ethiopia argues that no legal document severed its sea rights and insists its intent is cooperation, not confrontation. Analysts warn, however, that rhetoric is escalating on both sides. Observers recall the 2018 peace accord that reopened borders and trade between the two nations, a brief period of optimism that quickly faded. General Bacha Debele recently urged renewed partnership on joint port and logistics projects, but Asmara has shown little interest. Both nations stand at a crossroads, dialogue for shared prosperity, or renewed hostility that could shake the Horn once again. And Chicago, Boeing faces its first civil trial tied to the deadly 2019 Ethiopian Airlines crash, which killed all 157 people aboard. The victims included citizens from more than 30 countries. Among them, Mercy Ndivo, a 28-year-old Kenyan mother, and Shika Garg, a UN environmental consultant from India. Their families are the first to reach trial after dozens of out-of-court settlements. At issue, the Boeing's now infamous MCAS software, which repeatedly pushed the 737 MAX's nose downward due to faulty sensor data, the same flaw behind the Lion Air crash in Indonesia 5 months earlier. The U.S. government charged Boeing with fraud for misleading regulators, leading to a $1.1 billion compensation deal. But families argue that Boeing escaped accountability. Attorney Robert Clifford said Boeing never faced the truth about corporate negligence. The trial, with 8 jurors selected Monday, is expected to last 3 weeks. For many families, it represents not only a legal battle, but a 6-year journey for justice and closure. The Somali federal government's new e-visa system is facing rejection, again. This time from Puntland, which insists on maintaining its own visa-on-arrival policy. Reports from BBC Africa confirm travelers arriving in Bosaso paid $60 at entry, despite holding valid federal e-visas. Puntland officials said the region will continue its autonomous system for tourism and business entries, arguing Mogadishu has no authority over its borders. The federal government's e-visa, launched earlier this year, was designed to centralize border control and direct visa revenues to the capital. But both Puntland and Somaliland have refused compliance. Somaliland even warned airlines against recognizing the federal policy, a move that saw Flydubai and Ethiopian Airlines ignore Mogadishu's directives. The standoff highlights Somalia's fragile unity. Airlines now face conflicting rules, travelers are paying double fees, and Mogadishu risks losing millions in revenue. Analysts say the e-visa battle, though administrative, exposes deep political fractures between center and regions. Will this visa war push Somalia toward compromise or widen its internal divide? The United Arab Emirates has publicly admitted mistakes in its Sudan policy, a rare acknowledgement after years of denial. Top diplomat Anwar Gargash said Gulf states failed to sanction Sudan's 2021 coup leaders and underestimated the consequences. The RSF army war, now in its third year, has killed tens of thousands and displaced millions. The UAE, long accused of arming the Rapid Support Forces, now says it supports a civilian-led transition and wants to distance itself from armed actors. Leaked UN reports earlier confirmed UAE arms shipments through Chad and Libya. Allegations, Abu Dhabi denies. Still, the UAE remains Sudan's top gold trading partner, importing nearly all official exports and billions in smuggled gold. Analysts say that financial leverage gave it outsized influence in Sudan's conflict. Gargash told reporters the UAE now backs the Quad Peace Initiative, with the US, Saudi Arabia, and Egypt, pushing for a 3-month ceasefire and civilian rule within 9 months. Whether that marks a real policy shift or diplomatic cover remains uncertain. From Egypt's Horn outreach to Sudan's shifting alliances, the region searches for stability amid storms. For more updates, like, share, and subscribe. Follow us on X, HornAfrica Insight, #HornAfrica Insight.